If you're looking for a podcast dedicated to real estate investing, personal finance, and how to navigate these uncertain financial times, you've came to the right place. Building credit, investing for your future, buying first home, starting a business. These are all goals that we want to achieve. Can it be intimidating at times? Oh, absolutely. The Perkins Group podcast is here to educate, help you understand, and craft your game plan for a fulfilling financial future. Without further ado, guys, let's get this thing rolling. Welcome, guys. This is the Perkins Group podcast, and I am your host, Jeff Perkins. Episode 1. A lot of you people, new listeners, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. You know, the last time I made a podcast, so this isn't the first time I did this. A lot of my college friends, a lot of you remember that'll listen to this first episode. I did one with quite a few friends. A couple years ago, we talked about sports, business, all sorts of those things. You know, I figured starting a new podcast was important to me. Why was it important to me? You know, as I've gotten older, learned a lot more of what I like, what I don't like, my interests. A lot older, turned into a man and grown up, I've kind of determined what my mission is. A lot of you are aware of what's going on today with the government, inflation, home affordability is the worst it's ever been. 2024, for someone my age, a millennial, your financial future could not be more uncertain. My mission with the Perkins Group, this podcast, the Instagram, the websites, all the home remodeling and things that I've been doing the last few years with my business, really wanted to share my lessons, insights, and stories with any of you that check out, like I said, these social media pages, listen to this podcast, all sorts of things like that to give you a better understanding of what has worked for me and maybe in your specific situation, using my lessons, how could it help you craft a better game plan of your financial future? And, you know, I talk about, inflation, home prices. How bad has this situation gotten for quite a few people? You know, as I was recording this first episode, trying to understand, okay, how am I going to introduce this and maybe lay out some facts that are going to be a little bit shocking to you first listeners? Like I said, I'm 29 years old, grown up quite a bit, learned quite a few things, understand a little bit more how the world works. One of the facts that really stood out to me when we talk about personal finance and home affordability is this. What we're going to do is a side-by-side comparison of 1980 prices, incomes, things like that versus 2023. The average annual income in 1980 was about $21,000 per year. As of 2023, that income looks about $59,000 a year. A lot of you will see on, social media, Instagram, whatever it may be, where you'll talk about with the home affordability crisis that we have in America today, a lot of young people are really priced out of buying these homes for the first time. So to give you a little more insight into this, right? I said 1980, the average annual income was about $21,000. Now, if we compare that to the median home sale price of 1980, that price is $66,400. The one thing I kind of calculated to figure out some of this information, so we look at a home price versus income ratio calculation. So taking that 66 over that 21, we see a ratio in 1980 of about 3.15. Now, where does this really stand out? Like I said a little bit earlier, the average annual income in 2023 was $59,000. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The median home sale price at the end of Q4 in 2023 was $417,000, guys. Doing that same little ratio I talked about, that home price to income ratio calculator that I talked about, that is nearly double at 7.03. So if you talk about that in the last 43 years, our parents versus where we're at now at the same stage of life where they were at in 1980, homes have basically become 2 times as hard to buy for the average American. So like I said, guys, things aren't getting better. You see this all the time, right? Everybody talks about how they're getting taxed all the time, and we're just getting on the back end of tax season. And you see all these tax dollars going to other countries for other things, and a lot of people are wondering, why is this not being used to help benefit our own citizens here in this country? It's tough times, guys. It's tough times. I totally understand. But like I said, guys, this is the introduction to the Perkins Group podcast. Throughout this show, we're going to talk about some of my journeys through single family real estate investing, how I actually scouted out properties and determined what made financial sense versus what didn't make sense. how I started my LLC. How do I manage my business? How do I manage my rental properties? Tenants and things that have happened with maintenance issues, all sorts of like little hassles that would go into starting a business, right? And anybody knows, whether it be real estate investing or any business you're going to have, there's going to be a ton of setbacks. But if you keep working through it, you will start to see some benefits. And part of the reasons why I want to start this podcast is I've stuck with it long enough. I've come to understand that with the hard work that goes in up front and taking a little bit of the battle shots, getting punched in the face a couple times trying to run your business, eventually you get on the other side of it where you start to see the fruits of your labor. So anyways, guys, short little episode, just the introduction to the Perkins Group podcast. We do appreciate you listening. With the timeline of this podcast, how things are going to come out, look for episodes once a week, every 2 weeks, pretty periodically with, new lessons, insights. And some of the stuff I may talk about too on this podcast is going to be related to macroeconomics of the world today, what business topics are going on that I think apply to millennials our age these days, and new fiscal policy that's coming out that'll actually have a direct impact on your financial future. Okay, episode 1 is in the books. We are feeling good and excited about what the future of this podcast holds. As always, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to reach out to me via Instagram at the Perkins Group LLC, or of course my website, perkinsgroup.llc. Please subscribe and rate this podcast wherever and whenever you listen to your favorite shows. Thank you, each and every one of you. And JP, we are out for the week. Hey guys, if you're still listening up to this point, you guessed it. That's the end of the episode. If you have any questions, comments, future podcast recommendations, or even just want to leave a message, please check us out on Instagram at the Perkins Group LLC or on our website, www.perkinsgroup.llc. As always, we appreciate your support and please subscribe to the show on whichever platform you get your podcasts from.